She smiled, you smiled back, and for a brief second, you swore the universe just winked at you. Her eyes lingered a little longer. Her laugh came a little louder, and your mind, oh, your mind, started writing the story before it even began. You imagined the date, the chemistry, the late-night texts, and then she introduced you to her boyfriend. That's the moment every man knows too well. The sting of misreading the room. It's not heartbreak, it's humiliation. That quiet, invisible burn that whispers, maybe I'm just not good at this. But what if you're not actually bad at reading women? What if you've just been reading yourself wrong this whole time? In this video, we're breaking down the truth about flirting versus politeness, why men misread signals, the subtle cues that actually mean interest, and the mindset shift that will stop you from ever feeling foolish again. Because clarity isn't about decoding women, it's about mastering your own perception. You ready? Let's dive in. Chapter 1. The Fear of Embarrassment. Let's start with the real reason most men misread signals. It's not because you're clueless, it's because you're terrified. Not terrified of women, terrified of looking like a fool. You see, rejection doesn't scare most men. Embarrassment does. It's not the no that hurts, it's the thought of being seen getting rejected. It's the echo in the room when your confidence meets silence. It's the awkward smile she gives when you misread her friendliness as flirtation. You don't fear her reaction, you fear the mirror it holds up to your ego. Imagine this. You're at a party. She's laughing at your jokes, touching your arm, holding eye contact. Your confidence grows. You think, this is going somewhere. So you take your shot, ask for her number. And then she says it. Oh, I actually have a boyfriend. The floor doesn't crack, but your pride does. That sharp, silent crash, that's embarrassment. The emotion men spend their whole lives trying to avoid. And that avoidance, it costs you presence. Because once fear enters, you stop observing reality, you start performing. You try to read her mind instead of reading the moment. You chase certainty instead of connection. This is where men lose their edge, not in attraction, but in perception. Your ego hijacks your awareness. So one smile becomes a sign, one compliment becomes chemistry, one touch becomes permission, and one polite laugh feels like destiny. But here's the truth. One action means nothing. Attraction isn't a spark, it's an echo. It's not what happens once, it's what keeps happening. Real interest repeats itself. It shows up again and again and again. In her tone, her consistency, her body language. If she's truly interested, she'll make sure you notice. If she's not, you just saved yourself from chasing a mirage. So, close your eyes and picture your favorite movie. It's not a collection of atomic clips. It's a narrative that builds over time. Attraction works the same way. That's why confident men read the room differently. They don't chase moments, they track patterns. They wait for evidence. If she keeps engaging without prompting, keeps finding reasons to connect, keeps showing up, then yes, that's interest. But if she doesn't, it's not rejection, it's reality. And the man who can accept reality without ego is the man who wins. Because here's what most men don't realize. Your need for validation blinds you. Every time you crave her interest to feel confident, you hand her the power to define your worth. And that's the moment your clarity disappears. The most magnetic men in any room are the ones who see clearly because they don't need to be seen. They don't interpret to soothe their insecurity. They interpret to understand truth. So here's your new rule. Delay your interpretation until the evidence repeats. Don't act off a single glance. Don't attach meaning to a single laugh. Let her actions prove consistency before your mind builds the story. If she's truly interested, she'll make sure you notice. If she's not, you just saved yourself from chasing a mirage. Now, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, how much of what you call confidence is actually performance. How often do you act from fear of embarrassment, not genuine interest? Because when your confidence depends on outcome, you stop being authentic. You stop being masculine energy, calm, grounded, present, and start being reactive energy, seeking, guessing, proving. That's why Stoics taught to be calm is the highest achievement of the self. The calm man doesn't rush to define the moment. He lets the truth reveal itself. He doesn't need to chase certainty. He embodies it. And that's your first step to never misreading a woman again. Don't interpret, observe. Don't assume, confirm. And above all, don't fear embarrassment. Because clarity lives on the other side of courage. Chapter 2. Confusion over mixed signals. You've probably been here before. You meet a woman, there's chemistry, energy, and all the little signs that make you believe she's into you. She laughs at your jokes. She touches your arm. Her eyes light up when you walk into the room. And in your mind, you start connecting the dots. She likes me. But then, it happens. She starts to pull away. Her replies get shorter. She becomes busy. You catch her posting a story out with someone else. Suddenly, all those moments that once felt so clear now feel like an illusion. You're left wondering, was I wrong? Did I misread everything? This right here is the psychological chaos of mixed signals. The modern dating dilemma. See, the problem isn't just that women send mixed signals, it's that men don't know how to interpret them without losing their emotional center. In today's world, validation is currency. A simple smile, a text reply, or an Instagram like, they all create microdoses of attention that can confuse you into thinking there's real intimacy. But here's the truth. Sometimes a woman's signals aren't about you. They're about how she wants to feel about herself. Maybe she's lonely. Maybe she's bored. Maybe she likes the chase, but not the capture. Maybe she's testing your confidence to see if you'll lose composure over her attention. And when you do, when you start overanalyzing every emoji, every pause, every word, that's when you lose your power. Because mixed signals only have power over men who seek clarity from women instead of stability within themselves. The Stoic perspective. Epictetus once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Mixed signals are not an external problem. They are an internal test. A test of your ability to remain grounded while the world around you becomes uncertain. The Stoic man doesn't panic when things become unclear. He doesn't chase clarity from someone else. He finds it within. He knows that his peace cannot depend on another person's mood or attention. So when she's warm one day and cold the next, he doesn't spiral. He observes, he adapts, and he moves with calm detachment. Because the moment you start trying to figure her out, you've already surrendered your emotional power. Why mixed signals hurt so much? It's not just the confusion, it's the hope. That small voice whispering, maybe she does like me. Maybe I just need to show her more effort. But here's the paradox. The more you chase clarity, the less attractive you become. Because confidence at its core is comfort with ambiguity. When you can remain calm even when you don't know what's happening, that's emotional mastery. That's what makes a man magnetic. Mixed signals aren't meant to be solved. They're meant to be observed and filtered. If a woman's behavior is inconsistent, that's already your answer. Her confusion is her journey, not your puzzle. The power of detachment. Imagine this. You're at peace with both outcomes. If she's interested, great. If not, you walk away with dignity. That's the essence of Stoic detachment. It's not that you don't care, it's that you refuse to lose yourself in uncertainty. When you master this state of mind, you stop chasing. You stop needing validation. You stop over-explaining your worth. And that's when the dynamic flips. Because emotional detachment is magnetic. It makes people curious. It makes them wonder what you're thinking, how you stay so calm, and why you're not trying to impress them. In a world of emotional chaos, composure is power. The modern psychology behind mixed signals. Psychologists call it intermittent reinforcement, a pattern where attention is given inconsistently, which actually creates addiction. When someone shows interest one day and withdraws the next, your brain releases dopamine spikes similar to gambling. You start craving the next hit of validation, the next text, the next compliment, the next smile. But here's what's important. You can't win a game that's designed to keep you uncertain. The only way to regain control is to step outside the game completely. You must become someone who no longer needs to win attention to feel valuable. The moment you detach from that psychological loop. Chapter 3. The overthinking loop. You know that moment when everything feels like a movie you can't stop replaying in your head? Every conversation, every word, every emoji? You keep dissecting it, trying to find what it meant. That's the overthinking loop. It's what happens when your brain turns into a detective for emotions it can't prove, but still wants answers for. It starts innocent. You just want clarity. You just want to understand. But the moment you give in to that urge, your mind becomes a battlefield. You scroll back through texts. You replay her tone. You analyze the timing of her replies like it's evidence in a case that decides your worth. And the irony, the more you think, the less you see. Because overthinking isn't clarity. It's emotional noise disguised as logic. The psychology of the loop. Here's how it works. Your brain hates uncertainty. It's wired to solve problems. So when you're confused or anxious, especially in relationships, your mind goes into overdrive. It tries to fill the silence with theories. Like, she looked at me differently today. Maybe she's losing interest. Or, she didn't reply last night. Maybe I said something wrong. Or, she used to call me first. Now she doesn't. Each thought becomes a seed of doubt. And if you water it long enough, it grows into full-blown anxiety. That's the loop. Your mind trying to control what can't be controlled. It feeds off fear. It feeds off uncertainty. It feeds off your attachment to the outcome. Stoic wisdom. Control the controllable. Epictetus taught one of the most liberating truths ever spoken. Some things are in our control and others are not. Read that again. Your thoughts, your actions, your attitude, in your control. Her feelings, her choices, her interest, not in your control. The overthinking loop begins when you cross that invisible line, when you try to manage her emotions instead of mastering your own. The Stoics believe that peace doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from surrendering the need to have them. It's the art of saying, I don't know, and that's okay. Because in that surrender, you regain power. You reclaim your energy. You stop being a prisoner of your own imagination. Why overthinking feels so real? Overthinking feels like you're doing something. It gives the illusion of productivity. You tell yourself, if I can just figure this out, I'll feel better. But thinking doesn't equal control. It's a coping mechanism, a way to avoid the discomfort of uncertainty. You're not solving the problem. You're rehearsing pain. You're reliving moments that no longer exist. And each replay deepens the emotional wound. The Stoics called this suffering twice, first from reality, then from your imagination. The emotional trap of what if. What if she's losing interest? What if I ruin this? What if she's talking to someone else? Each what if is a doorway to anxiety. And once you walk through, you start living in a world that doesn't exist. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that's exactly what overthinking does. It makes you suffer from scenarios that might never happen. You live in a hypothetical pain while real life passes by untouched. You're here, but your mind is stuck in the past or the future. And as long as you're there, you'll never find peace in the present. The Stoic way out. Return to the moment. The Stoics practice something called mindful detachment. They train themselves to see thoughts as passing clouds, not facts. So when the mind starts spinning with what ifs and doubts, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this in my control? If the answer is no, then it doesn't deserve your energy. That simple question can cut through hours of mental chaos in seconds. Because clarity doesn't come from thinking more, it comes from thinking less. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your mind is your kingdom. Guard it carefully." Breaking the loop, a practical Stoic method. Here's a step-by-step practice used by modern Stoics and psychologists alike. Catch the thought. Notice when your mind begins spiraling. Label it. I'm overthinking. Awareness weakens the loop. Breathe and ground yourself. Shift from thinking to feeling. Focus on your breath or physical sensations. This brings you back to the present. Question the narrative. Ask, what facts do I actually have? Most of what you think is assumption, not evidence. Release what's uncontrollable. Say out loud, this is not mine to control. It recenters your mind on what truly matters, your response, not her behavior. Take purposeful action. Instead of obsessing, channel your energy into something constructive. Gym, work, writing, learning. Action dissolves anxiety. Accept uncertainty. Peace isn't found in knowing, it's found in trusting yourself even when you don't. Why the mind clings to control? Let's go deeper. The reason overthinking is so addictive is because it offers comfort in disguise. It's a form of mental self-soothing. When you can't control her, you try to control your narrative. When you can't control the outcome, you overanalyze the signs. But real strength is letting go of the illusion of control. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. Because every minute spent trying to predict her next move is a minute stolen from your own evolution. The peace beyond thinking. Imagine this. You stop trying to decode texts. You stop rereading conversations. You stop trying to solve her silence. Instead, you lean into your stillness. You focus on your mission. You start to feel calm again, not because she replied, but because you returned to yourself. That's emotional freedom. That's what makes people drawn to you, the calm confidence of someone who isn't easily shaken. Women feel that energy. They notice when you're unbothered, when you're grounded. And that's when you stop being one of many and start becoming unforgettable. Final reflection. The mind as a mirror. Your thoughts are a mirror. They reflect your inner state. If that mirror is fogged by anxiety, you can't see clearly. But when you wipe it clean, through awareness and detachment, you start seeing reality as it is, not as you fear it to be. That's the Stoic mastery. Not the absence of emotion, but the control of it. Not suppressing thoughts, but observing them without being consumed. Because when a man can stay calm in uncertainty, he doesn't just attract peace, he becomes peace. Chapter 4. Are you creepy? Let's be honest. No man ever wants to be called that word, creepy. It's a label that can destroy confidence faster than rejection itself. You might just been trying to be kind, to show interest, or to start a genuine conversation. But suddenly, the energy shifts. She withdraws. Her body language changes. And now you're overthinking everything you said. So the question becomes, when does genuine interest cross the line into appearing creepy? And more importantly, how can you express attraction without losing your composure, your confidence, or your dignity? The modern dating paradox. Here's the strange thing about modern dating. The line between interest and discomfort has never been thinner. A confident man can say the same words as a nervous man, yet one is seen as attractive and the other as unsettling. The difference isn't in the words, it's in the energy. Creepiness isn't about what you do. It's about the energy of neediness behind what you do. It's not that you smiled too long. It's that your smile carried anxiety. The silent question, "Do you like me?" It's not that you texted first. It's that your message was seeking validation instead of expressing grounded intent. This is why women can sense neediness before you even say a word. Because they don't just read your words, they feel your energy. The Stoic lens, energy of control versus energy of freedom. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." The creepiness energy often comes from the lack of mastery, when a man's actions are driven by fear instead of freedom. You see, attraction expressed from a place of calm confidence feels empowering. Attraction expressed from a place of fear feels invasive. When you try to get her attention, that's control. When you simply give your attention without expectation, that's freedom. A man who is at peace within himself doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't perform. He expresses interest and moves on, unattached to the result. That's the energy women find safe. That's the energy that feels masculine, because it's rooted in control of self, not control of outcome. Why some men come off as creepy, even when they mean well. Let's look at the psychology behind it. Men who fear rejection often overcompensate, trying too hard to appear nice, funny, or attentive. But when every action is built on the hope of approval, it stops feeling authentic. You can't fake calmness. You can't hide anxiety with charm. Women pick up on the smallest signals: tone, posture, eye contact,